So moving on to dynamic stretching. I know this is a very big, broad term, and I just want to give you all a couple exercises that you can do that are quick, that when you get out of your car, when you drive to North Park, you can hop out of your car and do a couple of these before you take off. I know that I'm very guilty of driving, hopping out of my car, and just running. And that's because of today's day and age. We don't have a lot of time, so our run takes priority. And if you have an hour, you're going out for the hour run. I'm going to try to give you guys some muscle activations and dynamic stretches that only take 5-6 minutes that you can fit in right before you go for your run. And it's minimal amount of equipment too. So the dynamic stretches, you really don't need anything. And if you want to pull your phone out or take notes right now, that's totally fine. The first one is just general leg swings. So if you can find a fence, anywhere where you go running, hold on to the side of the fence, start by crossing your leg in front of you, and just start with little swings. Just little tiny ones. And then as your muscles warm up, take them in to bigger, longer swings. You can also go into backward swings, again, priming the glutes. So you can swing forward and then back. Just being careful not to arch your back when you're doing these. Back stays up nice and straight, leg comes forward, and it's just a little swing. You're not trying to kick the person behind you. After you do some leg swings, you can do what I call monster kicks or Frankenstein kicks. These are for your hamstrings. Arms are going to be straight out in front. Knees are straight, but you want to have a slight bend because we never want to lock our joints out. Toes point up to the sky. Just kicking the leg straight up and stretching the hamstrings. I do about 10 to 12 on each leg. After you do your monster kicks, do something for your quads. You're going to catch a hold of the top of your foot, reach, give a little squeeze, touching your heel to your butt, and then step. Again, just 10 to 12 on each side. After those ones, again, back to your hamstrings. You're going to step, kick the back leg up, touch the ground, swing it through, step, swing it through. Again, locking out that knee joint. I always have a slight bend in my knee whenever I go to kick up. And for those that have tighter hamstrings, you're probably not going to be able to straighten your knee, and that's fine. These are all dynamic movements, but you also don't want to force the movement. You don't want to tear anything while you're stretching. So if you have to, bend over. You don't even have to touch the ground if you don't want to. Just kick the leg up behind. You can always find a surface that's a little bit higher to kick your leg up and touch. And you also don't have to kick your leg up that high. They can be little mini ones, whatever gives you that little bit of stretch in the back of the hamstring. The next one is a hug and lunge. So I hug my left leg, step, and lunge. You can also add a twist in here to engage the core as well. Coming back up, hug the right leg, step, lunge, twist over to the right. Again, 10 to 12 of those as well. The last one is a little bit more technical that you can add in for the hamstrings. I call it a step and scoop. So you can step, heel is touching, toes are up to the sky. You either scoop down with the right hand and come up, or you can scoop with the left to make it a little bit more difficult. Stepping forward with the left leg, toes are up, bend the right knee, step down, and scoop. So the one leg is straight, toes are up, opposite hand or same hand is coming down and scooping to get the hamstring. Those are my 5 dynamic stretches. that I always do before every run, and it maybe takes me 3 to 4 minutes to get them done in the parking lot before I run. If you don't have an area to do these in, you can always do them in the house. If you only have like a 5-10 minute drive, it's okay. The muscles will stay stretched out by the time you get there. Especially before a race, a lot of people ask me like, well, where the heck am I going to do these when I'm in a corral full of people and I don't have room? You can do them in the hotel room. You can do them on the side street before you hop in the corral. It's fine. They will stay stretched out. I know a lot of times we're stuck in those corrals for hours, and the muscles, and it's cold weather, the muscles get tight, they get tense. So if you can even walk around and do some butt kicks or high knees if you can in the corrals, just to keep everything pumping, the blood flowing, the muscles nice and stretched. So the last thing we're gonna go over that I'm gonna feed you guys today is muscle activation. It's extremely, extremely important to activate your muscles prior to going for a run or working out. A lot of times, especially right now, we're sitting all day and working, and then we wanna go for a run. Our glutes fall asleep and don't turn on during our run until about 2 or 3 miles in. If you're only going for a 4-mile run, or maybe running a 5K, the glutes didn't even really turn on yet. So you're overusing quads and hamstrings. That's where we see a lot of the runner's knee pain, because we're so quad dominant that we don't even get to use the biggest muscle in our body, which is the glutes. So I'm gonna give you a couple of these. You can take and pick what you wanna use. I don't do all of them at the same time, but the only equipment that I use is I have these glute bands. Again, you can find these on Amazon. They're just looped bands. They're all different resistances. So finding a resistance is also, it's not challenging, but you kind of like get stronger as you keep using them. So you want to have a couple different colors on hand. So I typically use black, which is the strongest one, and blue. Now, they're both 2 different resistances. We are wearing both for the walks that we're going to do. The one with the most resistance, so the band is typically smaller, is going to go above your knees. The one with the least resistance is going to go around your ankles. Once you have both bands on, the first one I like to do is standing clamshells. You're gonna pop up on one toe, toes stay pointing forward. The knee is gonna go out to the side. So the hip is externally rotating. You wanna keep the toes pointed forward. Don't let them squash a bug because you're just rotating your ankle. You want all the rotation to come from your hip. I do 12 of these on each side. And then I start my walks. You're gonna keep feet hip width distance apart. You're in an athletic stance. Hips are bent, butt is back. Keeping your feet apart, tension on the bands. You're gonna walk forward 10 steps and then backwards 10 steps. Next, you'll turn sideways, keeping the toes pointing forward, knees out, sidestepping, 10 in each direction. The fourth one you'll do is a diagonal step tap. So you'll step diagonally, tap the back foot. Step diagonally, tap. Again, 10 forward, 10 backwards. The very last one, jab steps. Standing with feet hip width distance apart, tapping out to the side real quick, 10 on each side. At this point, if the resistance in your bands is correct, if it's giving you enough resistance, you should feel some firing in your glutes. It is gonna burn, and that's fine. That just means that you're turning the muscles on. 2 more that I do on the floor. I took my bottom band off. I just have my top band on. I know most people have done clamshells before, coming up onto the forearm, keeping your feet glued together, and lifting the top leg, opening up. I do 2 sets of 12 on each side, working up to 3 sets of 10. And again, to do the other side, you would just switch onto the opposite hip. Another one is glute stars, which is a little bit more powerful. Staying onto the forearm, you release the feet, lift the knee and the foot in line with each other, and come back down. Again, 2 sets of 10, 2 sets of 12 is fine on each side. That one's gonna give you a little bit more of a glute activation, more strength. Next, we have to activate the core muscles. A regular general plank on their forearms is perfectly fine. Forearms down, feet hip-width distance apart, and pushing the heels to the back of the room. Try to do 3 of them, holding for about 20 to 30 seconds. Again, you can drop the knees down to modify, but we need to also turn our core muscles on before we start to run.